Hello, and welcome to another episode of Is This a Podcast? This is episode number 6. And oh my god, hasn't there been a lot happen since the last one? For example, since the last one, I have actually put out a normal video on this channel, which is, kind of weird. Something I haven't been doing a lot of recently, and I really should have been doing more during the lockdown, but I don't know. I'm only recording content now when I want to, and that for some reason isn't a lot. I suppose it is because all of my YouTube channels got demonetized, and that used to sort of serve as a little bit of an incentive to record more, because you think, well, it's another opportunity to make money, and money makes me happy. As totally vain as that sounds. So, this is this a podcast? And I would like to start off by saying, actually, please check the video description bit below and have a little look at the giffgaff link. It is the mobile network run by you, and it actually helps to, well, get me some money. You can order yourself a SIM card, and it has on it £5 preloaded credit. All you need to do is activate the SIM card, and you will also be able to get some of the UK's best mobile deals. That includes both mobile phones and minutes, text, data, fucking everything. And they still do free contact to other people on giffgaff, and that's always been the way. So you get unlimited free minutes, texts, everything between giffgaff users. So order yourself a SIM card, and then order yourself some for family and friends, because they will love you. Anyway, as we do, we're going to start off by going into the news. But before that, I am going to have to mention, of course, the biggest piece of news, which is actually what I did my video about. It's to do with the death of George Floyd in America. Now, what happened to George Floyd is, I want to say it's unimaginable, but it's not, is it? I mean, okay, I'm a white bloke. I have actually been arrested before, and I don't have to worry about police officers kneeling on my neck. That's not a threat for me. And more than likely, that's because I'm white. Like, let's just be honest about that. And the movement that we are seeing with Black Lives Matter at the minute, that isn't just calling for police brutality to end against black people. It is calling for an end to police brutality, full stop. Like, they're not bothered about your skin colour. They want it to end. So I'm totally on board with that. Am I on board with the rest of the Black Lives Matter movement? Yes, I am. I fully support them, because this sort of behaviour, this mindset that, oh well, my skin's white, ergo I'm more important than you, this mindset has got to stop. Now, I'm quite fortunate that with the upbringing that I had, I was never raised to believe that people are less than me. Whether it be that people are disabled, whether it be that people are gay, straight, whether it be skin colour, whether it be that they're male, female, whatever, everyone's equal. We are human beings. But I am apparently quite rare in thinking that. And this whole Black Lives Matter, it is affecting me, because I'm seeing people that I thought were genuinely down-to-earth, nice people are actually showing themselves to be a little bit on the racist side. And it isn't pretty to see that. It's very eye-opening, because when you talk about racism, when you take a stance on racism and you say it's got to end and we need to do this and we need to do that, you never think that, like, there's racists in your circle. You know, the people that you either surround yourself with or whatever it is. And yeah, I know some, and that I don't like that. It's not a good look on people. So yeah, I mean that's one side. That is the way it's affecting me. But another thing that this whole thing has opened up is us as a world being able to see just how out of control the police is in America. Like, not only are they hiring people that are kind of known racists, they're ignoring genuine people's complaints against officers. Like we saw the one with the officer who had his knee on George Floyd's neck, had something like 11 complaints against him, and he was still allowed to serve, which I find funny but disturbing at the same time. Like, he shouldn't be on the force. So the signs were ignored, and I don't agree with the protest thing at the minute being like, oh, defund the police and disband them. Don't agree with that. Reform them, yes. And I mean, subject every officer to the most thorough background checks that you can. And yes, include their social media. Absolutely include it. And if they're found to be in violation, like they're being racist or, you know, showing extremist views, they're out of a job. That's what I would do. But to defund them, kind of not a good thing, because that just means that there's less police officers on the street for when things do go wrong and people genuinely need them. Because, I mean, let's not forget, okay, yeah, in these riots and protests and everything, yeah, we are seeing police brutality, and it is disgusting. But there are officers that do a genuinely good job that don't deserve to have either their salary cut or their job put at risk. And defunding the police does just that. It puts them out of work. So yeah, I think reform is desperately needed, but not disbanding or defunding. The time that I'm recording this, so it's the 11th of June, and we're at 10 to 4 in the afternoon, just for anyone wanting to know. There has been a video that I saw yesterday. Oh, let me tell you. So, there's a fella on Instagram. Right, I was going through my Instagram a couple of weeks ago. Actually, no, I think it was before the lockdown, so a couple of months ago. Anyway, I saw this video, and it was a very short skit, couple of seconds long, of a fella in an office sat at his desk, and he hears the message notification noise off Grindr, and he turns and like looks around like, oh, whose phone's that? And then he sees like, oh shit, I'm being recorded. So it turns out his name, or well, his Instagram username is Heartthrob Anderson, and he is really funny. You know, I get his sense of humour. It is brilliant. The skits that he puts out are brilliant. He's really entertaining, and I will put a link to his profile in the video description bit below. But kind of not long after we went into the lockdown, when this whole George Floyd thing kicked off, he kind of stopped with the humour and took things serious. And massively threw his voice behind the whole thing of saying, look, I'm seeing something that isn't right and it needs to change. And he's using his platform, which, you know, does have quite a lot of followers. He's using his platform to sort of expose what is happening in America. And one of the videos that he posted, well, I saw it yesterday, it's probably a couple of days old now, and it was this really angry man, and I don't know who he is, but he's sort of like stood in front of a load of police officers, which, by the way, they're not keeping their social distance. Just a little note there. But he's really angry at this press conference, and he is kind of like shouting that the police are being victimized, that they're being tarnished with the same brush, that they're being told by unions to stop being violent, and they're not violent, and blah blah blah. And his speech is interrupted by completely separate instances of police brutality happening just in New York, you know, showing this is a real problem that needs to be dealt with. But yeah, it's just mad, isn't it? Because, sorry, there's people walking the dogs outside. If you can hear dogs barking in the background, that's what that is. Two little dogs, and one of them is so excited about being out. He just wants the world to know about it, and I don't blame him. Oh, he's cute. Anyway, yeah, so it kind of struck me, that video, because I'm like, this fella is so angry but so wrong. I mean, like, okay, yeah, we get it. Most police officers in New York are fine, but we are seeing a lot of police brutality here. I mean, there was the video that we saw, oh, when was it now? Was it last week? Of the 75-year-old fella being pushed back and he hits his head on the ground. And we saw not only the two officers suspended and later released from their jobs, but we also saw the whole of that unit, basically 57 officers, say, well, we're quitting the unit as well. It was told at first that it was in solidarity, and then we were told, oh no, the union said, well, we're not going to back you if you're in this unit. Kind of don't know which one to believe. I'm kind of leaning more towards the first one, if I'm honest with you, but that's not for me to say. Anyway, look, let me sum this little part up. What happened to George Floyd, completely wrong. It's showing how bad racism actually is, how bad police brutality actually is, and we need to do something about this. So, like Whoopi Goldberg, a fucking goddess in my eyes, I love her to bits. She put a video out on her Instagram the other day, and she said, look, okay, I agree, we've rallied the troops, we've got everyone together, what next? What is the next step? And you do kind of have to wonder that with America. What is the next step? Because they're going to go to doing a vote soon, a presidential vote. And the choice, because America is kind of ran with two parties, so the choice is old white man or old white man. Both of them have incredibly dodgy pasts. Both of them have very questionable people working around them. Both of them have shown racist tendencies. And both of them are up for nomination. Now would be the normal time that I would say to people, vote alternative. But I kind of know America's voting system, and that will not happen. People are either Democrats or Republicans. And both parties are not fit for purpose anymore. In this day and age, in this particular world, both parties fail the American people. And it's not in just a small way. This is in a massive way. Neither party works for the people anymore. They are owned by private companies. So, you know, we saw the global pandemic and how America basically said, well, if you're not insured, we don't care if you've got COVID-19. You're fucked. That's it. Goodbye. And at the time of recording this, it is on my live news feed, the United States has just passed 2 million cases of COVID-19. 2 million cases. It's a lot, isn't it? So, yeah, America is ran for money. And it's not ran for the people. Which mean, okay, you have a continent which basically is built on the history of slaves, genocide, mass murder, everything like that, and you know, we're surprised that it doesn't operate properly. But yeah, America needs a government that's going to work for its people. The chance that it had was with Bernie Sanders. He could have changed things. Obviously, he had to drop out. And yeah, the prospects aren't good for America, let's just say that. Anyway, it's time to go on to a different news story, because I'm quite sure I've done your head in enough about that. So, England tracing system has identified 31,000 contacts. Now, we have a system which it was tried out in the Isle of Man, and kind of worked. And it's now been brought over to the UK. It is in the process still of being set up and rolled out, but it's basically the National Health Service. So if they have a patient in who tests positive for COVID-19, or even someone, because I know now you can do the home tests because I have done it myself. The video is coming out, by the way, July 1st, 10 a.m. GMT, and I know it's GMT +1, isn't it, at the minute? I think. I don't know. But yeah, that, and it shows me taking my COVID test at home. So you can follow along for that. Do I divulge the results now? I kind of have to because I sound fine, don't I? Yeah. The test came back and basically, yeah, I'm fine. I haven't tested positive for COVID, which is good. So this system, so basically I sent my results in, sent my tests in. Now, had I have tested positive, I would have received a phone call to say, you've tested positive, congratulations, or maybe not. And they would ask me, who have you been in contact with over the past, I don't know how long, say a couple of weeks. So I might say, okay, well, I went and took my nan a cake. I saw my neighbour. I saw fucking whoever, wherever. Explain all of that. This team will then contact those people and say, look, you've been in contact with someone who has COVID. You might not have COVID, but please self-isolate because you might have it. We will send you a testing kit if we can, blah, blah, blah. Boom, done. And that's it. Now, that system is very open to fraudsters at the minute. The question of fraudsters and impersonators was brought up to the government, and the government's response was, well, people will be able to know that it is the genuine track and trace team because they will sound genuine. Yeah. They sound genuine. So do scammers. The scam version, of course, is that they ring you, they say, look, you might have COVID, we want to do a test, and then they will try and charge you for that test. So let me be very, 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 very clear here. The test in the United Kingdom at home for COVID-19 is free. It is available through the National Health Service. Do not buy a test in any circumstances. Do not buy one. There is also the option that you can go through a drive-through test at different centres that have been set up. But, yeah, the home test is proving to be more popular, and I can understand why. It's fine. But yeah, so there we go. Also in the news, oh God, let's just bring her up. J.K. Rowling. What the fuck is wrong with her? Jesus Christ. It seems like the past couple of years, J.K. Rowling has been bored and then has taken to Twitter for some unknown reason. And then just tweets the most random shit that you can think of. Like, in the past few years, there was absolute silence and no one was saying anything. And then J.K. Rowling just turns around and says, oh, well, this character might have been gay in Harry Potter. And you're like, what the... Who... What? Like, no one even mentioned that. What are you on about? And then a couple of months ago, actually, she tweeted something, and I remember reading the tweet and thinking, "Ooh, that's a bit, that is a bit transphobic." And I am not the sort of person who likes to use labels lightly, but I do remember reading her tweet and thinking, "Oh, kind of shouldn't have said that. It's okay for you to think it, fine, but no, I'd take that tweet down." But let me just read you the little bit of this news story. So, J.K. Rowling has spoke out about transgender issues in part due to her personal experience of domestic abuse and sexual assault. The Harry Potter author addressed criticism of her response to an article that described people who menstruate, whatever. In a lengthy blog, she wrote her interest in trans issues stemmed from being a survivor of abuse and having concerns around single-sex spaces. Actor Daniel Radcliffe criticised her, blah, 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 blah. They actually wrote down what she put, because that's the bit I'm trying to read here. In the blog post published on Wednesday, Rowling 54 detailed what she said were the 5 reasons that she felt the need to talk about the issue. Those included her interest both in education and safeguarding and freedom of speech. Explaining her final reason, she wrote, "I've been in the public eye now for over 20 years and I've never talked publicly about being a domestic abuse and sexual assault survivor. This isn't because I'm ashamed of those things that happened to me, but because they are traumatic to revisit and remember. I also feel protective of my daughter from my first marriage. I don't want to claim sole ownership of a story that belongs to her too. However, a short while ago I asked her how she'd feel if I were publicly honest about that part of my life, and she encouraged me to go ahead. I'm mentioning these things now, not in an attempt to garner sympathy, but out of solidarity with the huge numbers of women who have histories like mine, who've been slurred as bigots for having concerns raised around single-sex spaces." Blah, 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 blah. Let me skip on a little bit there. But yeah, right, that's basically it. Oh, there you go. "My life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it is hateful to say so," she said. "I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives." Now, I can kind of see where she's coming from with it, but I don't quite agree with it. So, to actually be trans, to either be transsexual or transgender, there are differences, and I'm really not going to go into that at the minute. Okay, so let's talk about transgender. Okay, so that is basically the art, let's call it that, of a man becoming a woman or a woman becoming a man. And to give them their full title, once they've done the swap, it's transgender male or transgender female. Obviously, transgender female, they are not going to menstruate, but this is where a lot of people take issue, because they're saying transgender women shouldn't be allowed to partake in women's sports. So say like at the Olympics, for example, and you kind of try to explain to them about all the hormone treatments and the psychological treatments and everything like that, but these people still think that trans women are still built like men and can perform like men, who have a clear advantage over women, which, by the way, kind of goes against the thing of equality, but whatever. And look, I don't think she's saying I have a problem with trans people. I think she's having a pop at the people who do this thing of, I identify as a woman today. I identify as a man today. No, you fucking don't. Look, if you go to genuine trans people and ask them about their journey, if they want to tell you, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine. But most of them that will talk to you will explain to you about how they've gone through this incredible journey that involves not only multiple massive surgeries, but also years of psychological evaluation, of counselling sessions, of all these different therapies that they have to go through in order to be able to convert. Then you also have the thing of medication, because the hormone treatment is kind of done through medication, complex. But it's not an easy thing. And it isn't a thing of they just woke up one morning as a man and thought, oh, fucking hell, I'd love a vagina. That's not how this happens. But there are people out there that do take the piss because they wake up and they go, well, I'm wearing women's clothes today, ergo I identify as a woman. No, you don't. No, you don't. You are wearing women's clothes, and that is fine for you to do that. No one has a problem with that. But you're still a man. And if you're a woman wearing man's clothes, that's fine, but you are still a woman. It's not trans. It's nothing to do with trans. It is what it is. And yeah, I think that's the point that she's getting at there. To put my own little spin on it, of course. I really get involved in these stories, don't I? Yeah. So, that is kind of that. So she's still kind of trending at the minute. But it is what it is with that. Oh, and to finish off this little news section, because it has gone way over time on this. As of, oh God, what will it be on Saturday? It's the 11th today. So Saturday is going to be the 13th. Oh, lovely. Pardon me, but I really just did burp on a podcast. That's fun. Yeah, as of Saturday this week, people in the United Kingdom will be able to hug and kiss each other in what we call protective bubbles. Now, a protective bubble is a house or a flat or where someone lives. You can hug someone and you can kiss someone. You can also have sex with someone. I don't really know why they needed to include that, because if you live in the same household as someone, you have been able to have sex the entire time. That never ever got banned. But obviously if you're meeting up with strangers, it is a little bit difficult to keep your 2 meter distance if you're going to try and have sex with them, unless you know someone with a massive willy. But it turns out I don't, so there you go. Anyway, so I am looking forward to this. Today the news has come out and said that the UK's death toll from COVID-19 is standing at 151 deaths. And although that is a big number, yes, and it is very tragic, yes, it is also showing that the number of deaths and the number of new infections are going down. Not at a fast rate, but we didn't expect it to go down at a fast rate. But the cases are going down, and that's fine. So we can start loosening things up a little bit. But yeah, we do just still have to, take caution with these things. Of course you do. If you are told to isolate yourself. Don't go out. That's kind of how it works. But yeah, we're starting to relax things a little bit, and I like it. So I've already told my mum, and I said on Saturday, you are the first person that I'm going to have hugged in months, and I'm going to hug you. She hasn't said no, but at the same time she hasn't said yes. So this next podcast episode might be from in prison for what we would call hug rape. I shouldn't laugh at that because I know that people are going to try and call me out now. Anyway, let's move on off the news. Ta-da! So in the last episode, I kind of finished on a bit of a cliffhanger, and I was so happy that I was able to do so. And the cliffhanger in the last one was saying that we'd gone to bed after, we'd done everything, all of our travels that day, and then we rang down for breakfast, and we got the phone call back saying, look, we don't do what you want for breakfast, but we can sort you out like with yogurt and muesli and bit of fruit, croissants, that sort of thing, fresh orange. And we were like, yeah, that's fine. Oh, and cans of Coke, I think. Was it cans? Yeah, I think there was. Anyway, so and they'd said, well, we'll bring it up to your room, and we'd gone, you really don't have to. And they'd said, no, we practically insist. And I, at this point, I'm going to get an ashtray because I want to have a cigarette. Oh, God. Oh, it's so horrible moving with a headset on. Oh, I do not miss working in call centres, I swear to God. Right, I'm going to have to take the headset off for a second. There we go. I am at one with ashtray now. So... Oh, there's a lot of background noise in this episode, isn't there? Oh, my light just fell out over there. And I can have a cigarette. Thank God. So we set our alarm for 4 a.m. Oh God, it's so bad. And yeah, we actually managed it. We actually got up. Did our shower, got dressed, everything like that, and we were downstairs. Oh no, yeah, they brought the breakfast up, and I had a look through it, and I was like, oh, actually, there's, quite a nice selection of stuff here. There was like a pot thing of like natural yogurt, and then like another pot above it that had in like cereal and dried fruit and that sort of thing. I think there was croissants, some like little pastry wrap type things, fresh orange juice, cans of Coke, that sort of thing. It was quite a nice breakfast, I'm not gonna lie. All in a nice little takeaway bag. So we grabbed that, we walk down to our meeting point, which is outside the Hilton Hotel. Now, the Hilton Hotel in San Francisco is down from where we were staying. I mean, basically, we were kind of staying in, well, what you might call the highest point. The highest point in San Fran, because it's at the top of this massive hill, so kind of everywhere is downhill. But yeah, we walked down and it was fine. We were told to be at the meeting point for 6, and the minibus will be there as soon as it can. But obviously, please understand they've got other pickups, and sometimes people run late and all this sort of stuff. Basically, it's fine. So we get down there and we're talking, and then these other people come along, this other family, and they were like, oh, are you going to Yosemite as well? And we're like, yeah. And they were like, oh yeah, we're going as well, and got all the papers and everything. And then the security woman for the Hilton comes over and she says, you do know you guys can wait inside, like we know you're just waiting to be picked up. We're like, oh, thank you. So we go inside, we sit down, and we're just talking amongst ourselves, and the minibus pulls up. So thinking it's obviously our minibus. So we go along, and we're actually the last ones to go on the minibus. And we get on. My mum's got all of her papers out, and the woman's looking through her papers, and she's going, you're not on my list. Are you sure you've booked with us? I'm like, well, what do you mean? She went, there are other companies that pick up from here. Are you with us? I'm like, okay. So we had like a proper look through all the papers, and it turns out wrong minibus. So I'm like, right, great. It's not even 7 a.m. and already I've made a tit of myself today. So that's fun. So we get off, and then that bus went off, and then I think it was like fucking about 5 or 10 minutes after, another minibus pulls up, and we get on that one. That is our right bus. So great. And we get on, and I think at this point, everyone at first is like, oh, hi, hello, and the woman, our tour guide, gets on the microphone, and she's like, look, we've got a 4-hour drive to get to where we're going, and that's if the traffic's good. I'm not going to talk much for the first 2 hours, because I know you're all tired and you can just catch up on your sleep or whatever, but then we're going to come along to our rest stop, where there's like a CVS pharmacy. There's, oh my god, what was the name of the big shop? Can't remember, but there was a big chain supermarket type thing, and there's toilets there and everything, and you'll be able to get a coffee and whatnot. And then after that bit, we get back on the minibus and we travel along, and we basically keep going until we're there. So we're like, okay, that's fine. So we go along. First 2 hours, literally kind of nothing happened. Like me and my mum, I think we had our drinks on the minibus, just kind of like dozing off a little bit. But like I would be, my mum had the window seat and I was sat next to her on the minibus. And I'd just sort of like just be just about to go asleep. When you got your eyes shut and you're drifting off and everything's nice and it goes quiet. And then I'd just hear my mum going, oh, look at them cows. And you're like, Mum, shut up. I am trying to fucking sleep here. Yeah, and so we go along, and we get to the shops and stuff. And I videoed that bit, so that bit is on. But then the next bit, so we get back on the minibus, and we're going along, so it's like another 2 hours or so until we get to Yosemite, or Yosemite as some people call it, but it's Yosemite. Anyway, so going along, and we did learn some really interesting stuff. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, we learned that, whenever you mention to people about like the old country and western villages and towns where they had like the shootouts and everything like that, like everyone seems to think that was like middle America, that it became popular through Texas, for example, and it turns out it didn't. It originated in California, and we actually went through one of those towns, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I mean, we didn't slow down for it or anything, so we didn't get like a proper look, and we certainly didn't get to have a little walk around. But I was really amazed, because this town is like up a hill, and we've gone up and up and up, and we start going through the town, and it's really old-fashioned, and like the old-fashioned saloon signs outside, and the old the houses had like the little wooden porches at the front, and it was just, oh my god, amazing. I mean, I grew up on country and western music, so of course I'm going to love that. But then I had a look on the other side of the minibus, and there's a Subway store. And I was like, right, there's a little bit of modern America mixed in with the old. Like, you just can't go anywhere without a Subway, can you? But then as you carry on along the journey, and you start going up more hills and like crossing over mountains and everything like that, the scenery becomes amazing. And I have got it on video, but I do need to describe it to you because it is just something unbelievable. You know, you're going up these mountains on these really windy roads, and there is literally next to no traffic, and it is just incredible. But do you know what else was incredible as well? And it is kind of sad, the amount of burnt out areas. Like in the months before we actually went to San Francisco, California had suffered humongous wildfires, really dangerous ones, and it had done for quite a few years, really, well, over the course of a few years, not like a solid one, but it had suffered nonetheless. And the unfortunate part about it is that it's just left massive parts of like what would be woodland just bare. There's just these black stumps of trees every now and then, and that is kind of sad to see that, you know, we aren't treating the planet as we should. But the message was starting to get through to me at that point. And then you go up to like some gates, and obviously you have to pay to go in, and tour guide jumped off and she's like, oh, there's toilets over here if anyone wants to go. So a couple of people did. And then we start our journey into Yosemite. And it's not a thing of like you just get off the minibus and walk. This place is huge, and I mean like really big. So instead of just dropping us off at like one point and saying, right, be back here in a few hours, she actually took us on a little bit of a tour of Yosemite. So the first bit of video footage that I actually managed to get is from our first drop off, which was at kind of like the very far end of the valley. And it is an incredible backdrop for photographs and videos and everything like that. So of course I got a load of it on video. But already you're starting to take it in, this whole place, and you're thinking, wow, this is massive and stunning. Like every single thing that you look at could be a postcard. You know, one of them incredible photographs that you see could be one of them. It's just beautiful. So we get back on the minibus and she says, okay, it's going to be about half an hour until we get to our drop-off point. Now our drop-off point is going to be at the very base of the valley and you're free to do whatever you want. There are walks to go on. I wouldn't advise you to go on some of the walks because they will take you about 12 hours to complete. So don't go on them because you'll miss the minibus home. You can get a shuttle bus around, and that'll take you to different points on the site. But some people like to just sit on it because it takes you around, and then, you know, it will drop you off where you got on. And then she pulls over into some other little spot, and she's like, oh, you know, some people quite like it here because you'll actually get to see up close some of the granite that Yosemite is actually made of. So we go along and like, oh yeah, okay, it's a nice piece. And my mum actually picked up a piece. Now we got told, you know, leave everything where it is because, you know, it's nice for other people to look at. Well, there was these two perfectly little pocket-sized pieces of granite. Now they may have accidentally fell into our suitcases and come home with us, but that's not our fault, clearly. And that's actually where we got them, at this little drop-off point. So we carry on back on the minibus, and we go to our drop-off point. So me and my mum were talking like, well, what do we want to do? Now, my mum suffers with arthritis, and it seems to be like in her knees and her hips. She does suffer a lot with sciatica, so obviously you don't want to do something that is going to potentially trigger sciatica, because that could ruin the whole day. So we said, okay, we'll get the shuttle bus, we'll go around, and if we see anywhere that looks amazing, we'll just jump off the shuttle bus, because it's free. And there'll always be another bus along. I think they're every like 10 minutes or every half hour or something like that. But, you know, that's what we'll do. And then after that, we'll get off it and we'll go and have a walk around. And we're like, okay, fine. So we get on the shuttle bus, and as you will be able to see on the Life with Bev episode, that we got on with a really, really good driver. Like, he was constantly on the microphone talking to us, telling jokes, telling funny stories about, like, one of the big stories that he told us was about when President Obama visited, and he actually had the Secret Service on his bus as he was doing his rounds. And it was just, it was really, really good. And then he got off and this other bus driver got on, who was really boring. And the only thing that he would say on the microphone was like, "This is stop 7. And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. So we did the round. There's a couple of nice places, and we said, okay, well, let's be cheesy tourists and go to the gift shop. So we went over to the gift shop, and there are some incredible pieces that you can buy. It's not just shirts and hoodies and, oh, look, my name's on this keyring and it says Yosemite, so I'm going to buy it. It wasn't just that. Like, I got my friend, well, ex. Yeah, but we call each other friends. Anyway, I got my friend a massive, you know, like the American style mugs where basically it'll hold like 5 bottles of wine in one cup. I got him one of them from there. I got my brother, what did I get him? I got something else while I was there and I can't remember what the hell it is. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so we did that, and then we went outside and we sat down, and then I was sat down having a smoke. There's like this little stage kind of amphitheatre type thing by the gift shop and the restaurant. Oh, and we went in the restaurant and the toilets were overflowing. And I went and told the manager, and the manager just was like, yeah, okay. And apparently it was the same in the ladies' toilets as well, because my mum said. And I was like, Mum, no, it's worse in the men's. It's actually coming up out of the toilet and the urinals and going on the floor. So, yeah, it's not good. But that isn't the worst experience that we had with the toilets at Yosemite. So, yeah. Anyway, we then start walking around, and I have got a load of this on video. The fact that, like, you know, we saw a squirrel and birds, and the squirrel went up the tree and then was watching us. And we were watching the squirrel. It's the most bizarre encounter I think I've ever had with nature. But then, yeah, so, you know, I've got pictures of that. I got it on video and blah, blah, blah. We walked around the corner. We saw the deer. Seeing wild deer was just... It's still one of the most special moments in my life. And it was incredible. And I loved it. Didn't get to see any wild bears. Kind of gutted about that. But kind of not, because, you know, knowing my luck, they'd have probably eaten me. But then, yeah, and then we made our way back to the minibus and, you know, captured more on video. One thing I didn't properly catch on video, when we were driving out of Yosemite, we pulled over and the tour guide said on the microphone to the minibus, she was like, right, I want you off the minibus and look at the cliffs on the right hand side. Now, if you don't have binoculars, use a camera or the camera on your phone and zoom in, because there are people climbing, but you won't see them with your naked eye. And we're like, whatever. She was right, you know. Like, I got off. Now, my camera is HD, and it is 20.4 megapixels. It says somewhere on it. Oh, yeah. 30 times optical zoom. So what I can do is I can zoom in on something, and the actual camera moves, and then it's got an extra bit where it like digitally zooms in, and what that does is it allows you to get really close to something that you zoomed in on. And that's what I had to do to be able to see these people that were climbing. Like, I've taken a picture of the whole of the cliff, and you see like little black dots, but they're actually not people climbing, they're just like shadows. And you say to people, right, find the climber. And these people that you show it to, they'll be like, oh, well, you know, there. And you're like, nope, that's a shadow. So then I show them the picture that I took while my camera was fully zoomed in, and they're like, wow, you can't even see them. It's incredible. It really is incredible, and it just shows you the sheer scale of Yosemite. It is amazing. So then we get back on the minibus and we travel along a little bit more, and she says, right, I've got one more stop for you before we actually head out of Yosemite. And we pull over into this lay-by bit, and she says, this is possibly one of the most beautiful bits of Yosemite, because you're going to be able to see the waterfalls and basically get some really good shots on your cameras of like down the valley. And there are normally 3 waterfalls. One of them seasonally isn't operational this time of year. There's just no water for it. One of them is supposed to constantly run, and that is kind of running, but not as it normally would be. And then the other one we don't think is running, because I think I might have actually told you this in previous videos, but in case I haven't, so California has been in a water drought for years, and the water level kept dropping, and they got it to a point where it stopped dropping, but it hasn't raised up. So that's the problem that they face, and that's why some of these waterfalls weren't running. There just wasn't the water. Like in Yosemite, the bits that we went to, there is supposed to be a river running through. Well, because the water level is that low, it was actually just like a series of ponds. There was no running water, and it's incredible to see, really. But we looked up at this point and we were like, this is just incredible. And we actually got to see both waterfalls, and they were beautiful. But as we stood there and we're taking photos and everything, this woman comes up behind us and she's like, oh, I knew I'd see you two here. So I turn around, as well as my mum. I mean, I'm just sort of like being polite, because I like looking at this woman like, who the fucking hell are you? And my mum's like, yeah, oh, it's so funny to catch up. And you know, the woman's like, how have you found it? And we're like, oh my god, this place is just beautiful. And she's like, I know, really is beautiful. Anyway, hopefully won't see you again in the future. And we're like, ha, okay, bye. So I said to me, oh my, who the hell is that? Turns out it was actually the driver of the other minibus, the wrong one that we got on first thing in the morning. Somehow she'd remembered who we were and what we looked like. Mind you, I was actually wearing my tie-dyed hoodie, so that might have been a bit of a giveaway, because I'm just like covered in every imaginable colour. But anyway, it's at this point, me and my mum were like, right, we've got 2 hours at least on the minibus now before we can next have a break. Let's just go to the toilet. Let's just try. So we said to our tour guide, look, where's the nearest toilet? And she went, look, it's over there, but I warn you now, it is a hole in the ground. And we're like, oh right, okay, you know, like a compost toilet or something like that. And she's like, no, it's a hole in the ground. So we're like, okay, that's weird. So we go over, and it's this little wooden hut, and there is a few people in a queue. We're like, okay, that's fine. I, fortunately for myself, have forgotten the smell. But it gets you. As soon as you open that door, because there is only one toilet, it's a unisex toilet as well, there is a smell like I've never ever known or experienced in my life. because this toilet is like, I don't even know how you describe it. It's like basically like a very large pipe with a loose seat on top of it that comes up out of the ground. So of course, to wee on it, you have to look down it, and it's just raw sewage. There is no soil that you put on top of it, like how most compost toilets work. Oh no, not this one. So you're like, ugh, this is disgusting. There's no windows. There are little vents that do nothing. And you think, oh my God, this is just vile. This is horrible. And it is. So you're doing what you can to hold your breath, because, you know, even breathing in through your clothing, that still brings the smell in. And you finish what you're doing, you turn around, and then you realise there's no sink. There's just a thing of alcohol gel that's kind of running out. So I used what I could to wash my hands, and I was like, you know, this is possibly the worst experience of my entire life, and it's happening right now. And yeah, it was awful. So we made our way back to the minibus. Didn't really talk much because we were both a bit like, that was horrible. And oh yeah, it's at this point I should probably point out that my mum fell asleep on the shuttle bus going around Yosemite, and I was very tempted just to leave her on it, you know, just for the laughs, but managed to wake her up before we got off. Anyway, so we get back on the minibus, and it's not cold on the minibus, but it's not warm, so my mum actually managed to get a little bit of sleep. And then we pull over at the services like 2 and a bit hours later. We get some food, get some drinks, and, you know, begin to make our way back to our drop-off point. Now, yeah, American motorways, or freeways as they're called over there, they are not smooth. It's like they're built in square blocks and then just placed on the ground, and there's no levelling. So how my mum fell asleep again, I have no idea, but she did. And when we were sort of getting back to our drop-off point, my mum had woken up, and we were talking about, okay, look, this is our last night, and we haven't done the top of the mark. Tomorrow we've got that much to fit in that we don't have time to go to the top of the mark tomorrow. It has to be tonight. At this point already, we've been on the go for, oh God, 16 hours, something like that. And we're like, okay. So I said, look, when we get to our drop-off point, can we just hail a taxi and just go up to the hotel? It won't cost that much, but even if it does, I will cover it. I don't care. I am not walking over to get the cable car. I am not walking over to get a bus, and I am not walking up a fucking hill to get to the hotel. I'm getting a cab. So we pull over at our drop-off point. Me and my mum get off the bus, and as I walk, and I'm like, oh, bye, you know, thanks for the trip. Which, by the way, we had the worst tour guide. Like, honest to God, she was so bad. And it's why I've had to put music over part of the travelling to Yosemite, because she was on the microphone, and we're going to Yosemite. This is after our first break, and she's saying, yeah, there are lots of, you know, different trees that you're going to see at Yosemite. And, you know, do we have any tree experts on the bus today? And no one says anything. And she's like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Well, you're going to see redwoods and sequoias. And, you know, those are some of the biggest trees in, like, you know, the world. And that's how she was, like, the entire thing there. And we were so frustrated at this point. We're like, oh my God, just shut the fuck up. She tried to tell us about wildlife that's there, and then ended up telling us that they have giraffes, and then laughing because she was like, ha, no they don't, and we're like, well, that's not funny. Anyway, yeah, so we get off the minibus, and there is a cab right across the road. So we got to do the American thing. We hailed for the cab. It came over. We got in and we're like, look, just take us to the top of the line. So it takes us up to the hotel. And it was like, because obviously you have to tip. So I think the journey was like $6 something, and we gave $8. So we included like, you know, a fairly decent tip. But we got there and we're like, right, okay, we're just going to have to do it. So we go up to the hotel room, we take off our day clothes, we put on our posh clothes, and we get the one lift. I mean, bearing in mind, in the hotel there are 3 lifts, but only one of them actually goes to the top of the mark. So we get on the lift, we go up to the top of the mark, and we're greeted in, and it's a Sunday evening. The bar is dimly lit, and there's like lots of candles and stuff like this. There's music on in the background. At the actual bar there is a TV playing like sports or something like that, and there's a couple of people sat around. We get greeted, we get shown to our table. And again, I've caught this on video with, you know, what we had to drink and that sort of thing. The drinks are incredible. I mean, they know how to make a good cocktail up there. The main attraction is the view, and that view is amazing. Now, what I didn't manage to catch on video was the fact that the tiredness by this point of the whole trip is properly catching up with us. Now, in my experience, it kind of felt like the landing that we had coming into San Francisco, which was sort of like down a bit, up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit more, up a bit, down a bit, and it was like you were swaying. And that's what I felt like. And I'm thinking, the amount of people that have said California is due for another kind of massive earthquake, and I'm in this really tall building at the top, and I feel as if I'm swaying. This isn't good. So I said about it to my mum, and I was like, I know what you mean, but yeah, I'm kind of not really feeling that at the minute. So I was like, okay. Anyway, we had our cocktails and we head downstairs back to our room. Oh, then I had to go out and fill up our ice bucket, you know, for glasses of water and stuff like that for during the night. But then, yeah, we were back in the room, and I think the pair of us, I think we managed to just about say goodnight to each other, and that was it. We were flat out asleep. That had been a really long day. Like, we got up at 4 a.m. We didn't get to bed until, oh God, it was something like 10:30, 11 o'clock, maybe even 11:30. And we'd only had one drink up there, but it was a really long day. And yeah, we did incredible that day. I'm very proud of us, the fact that we managed to get through it. But it kind of just made my point a little bit more, the fact that the beds, oh my God, those beds in the hotel are possibly the most comfortable beds that I've ever been on. Just incredible. So good. And that's at the Intercontinental Mark Hopkins Hotel in San Francisco at the top of Nob Hill. Just for anyone who's wanting to check in. But that is the end of that day. Again, if you want to see the footage that I managed to get, please have a look on YouTube for Life with Bev San Francisco Holiday, and that, I think it is actually called Yosemite Day or something like that. But that's it. So we have one more day to go of the holiday, and yeah, then that's the end of the San Francisco trip. I'll be very sad. Oh God, I was so gutted to come home. But anyway, that's for the next video. So thank you very much for listening to me rambling on for this Is This a Podcast episode 6. Hope it's been informative, and I hope it's actually just managed to take your mind away from the real world for maybe an hour or a bit. I don't know. Please, again, have a little look in the video description bit below and order yourself a giftcast SIM card. Thank you for listening. Also, I do kind of want to throw this open to people who are listening, because I would like to hear about your holiday trips. Please get in touch. Use the email bevsense, all one word, BEVSENSE @gmail.com. Get in touch with your holiday trip details, and you could be featured on this podcast. I would like to sort of start getting more people involved. So you will have to record it. You can do it like I've done, like a day-by-day thing, but obviously we can go through all the details of that when you're emailing me. But yeah, I would like for other people to get involved. So that's that. Please give me an email, and I will put that in the video description bit below. Thank you very much for listening anyway. I know that this has gone on a little bit longer than normal, but I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you all. Well, no, I won't. You will hear me in the next episode. Thank you for listening.